J.R. McFarland, Small Business Development Officer, Entrepreneurship Center. And through this workshop, in collaboration with the City of Tamarac, for those of you who are applying for the grant through the City of Tamarac, this workshop is necessary. It's a required discussion. Additionally, there's a worksheet that I put in the chat earlier. You must complete that worksheet to then put with your application or upload it into the link. So you want to make sure you do that. We'll cover in the discussion today, embracing your journey, the importance of a business plan and being current on trends, marketing strategies, and defining your target audience, having an operations plan, an SOP, as well as understanding key financial documents. These are the essential items that you must touch on as an entrepreneur and a business owner. So we'll dive in first by talking about embracing your entrepreneurial journey and finding your why, building courage and hope. There's no question about it that being an entrepreneur is difficult. It is a challenging task for a lot of individuals, and it takes a lot of tenacity. It takes a lot of grit. It takes resilience. And sometimes there's going to be some tears. You're going to be frustrated as this guy. You can see him there just kind of rubbing the glasses, and it can be tough. But if you're surrounded and you surround yourself by the right people, the right organizations, the right resources, you can get through this just like all the other mid-sized and bigger organizations that's succeeding today. We'll talk about in this discussion here, we'll talk about the power of owning your why, your identity, the purpose, the power of your purpose, building courage, creating hope, owning your entrepreneurial journey, worker bees versus CEO, and taking the next step. So first off, I'll say that your why is the foundation for your success. This is rhetorical. You don't need to answer it, but certainly you could pop the response in the chat. Why did you start your business? What impact do you want to create? What would happen if you gave up on your business? You know, what's at risk, basically. Know that your why fuels your resilience for your business. And without you, without your passion, without your drive, everything else just kind of fizzles away. So you've got to maintain the energy, the enthusiasm, the grit, and all the other stuff that's necessary. There's over 600,000 new businesses started each year. Millennials and Gen Zs, they capitalize the market, launching the majority of these businesses. And you're not alone, okay? You are not alone. If you look in the state of Florida alone, you'll note that there are a tremendous amount of businesses happening and revenue that's generated, gross GDP that's generated, and over 75% of it is driven by small businesses. So you guys are the backbone of the community. You're the backbone of this regional market, and you're the backbone of this country. What are your fears as an entrepreneur, and how do you push past them? Feel free to pop in the chat what some of your concerns or some of your fears are. I can tell you from my lens where I sit that a lot of individuals are just afraid because they have everything, they've done the business plan, they've created everything they need, and now they just need a little resource, some money to buy equipment and so forth so they can get their business off the ground. In other instances, maybe that's not as big a fear, although it is. Everyone needs money to get their business off the ground. But in some instances, it's just the fear of failure. Like you're frozen, you're a deer in headlights. You've gone to all these training, you sat in all these sessions, and now you're afraid to move. You're afraid to contact somebody. You're afraid to network. You're afraid to get out there. And I say we just got to rip the Band-Aid off and just go at it. Leverage the coaching, leverage your business coaches, leverage resources that can help keep you on par. All right. So the takeaway here really is that every challenge in your business is a chance for you to grow. And if something's not going to work, then you're going to gain experience from that. And essentially over time, that's what's going to help you to grow as a business owner. Courage is certainly, it's not the absence of fear, but the willingness to act despite it. Courage builds hope. There's no question about that. So when we talk about courage, we talk about being resilient, being creative, being adaptive. I love to use the word pivot, right? Setbacks are stepping stones. They're obstacles that individuals are going to face. And I promise you, every single one of you are going to face some setbacks, some things that will cause you to say, you know what, scratch your head and say, why am I doing this? This is crazy. But these are the things that's going to build courage. It's going to build strength in you. And through those experiences, you can now share something with somebody else who may be coming up behind you as a aspiring entrepreneur. You're going to build a strong support network, which is highly necessary. And then you're going to believe in your impact. You go back to your why and why you launched your business and why you decided to start it. And now you're thinking about, okay, I know why I started my business and I know what will happen if if I walked away from my business right now. I know what's at risk and that's not going to happen. So I'm going to fight through it. I'm going to just go through this and try to get over the hump. The first year is always the toughest time, but if you get past that hurdle, everything is fairly straightforward. So hope fuels progress. 81% of businesses today are entrepreneurs, and your opportunities are endless. I'm telling you, it's endless. So what you want to do is you want to visualize your success. You want to look where you see yourself in 12 months. If you just launched your business, where you see yourself in 6 months, you want to create these plans, these strategies, and you want to stay true to it. And as you create them, you want to measure them. Everything has a KPI. Everything is measurable. That's how you're going to be able to gauge if the effort you're putting in is working, and if it's not, being prepared to pivot and switch to something else. All right. So overcoming the struggles through focus and fortitude is another thing. There's a lot of naysayers out there, and you'll come across a lot of people that'll potentially question what you're doing, maybe not support you fully. You want to quiet those individuals. You want to stay away from those individuals while you're in the building stage of your business, because the second bullet says it all right there. Failures guide you towards your successes. Quiet the naysayers and just push towards greatness, because it's right in front of you. You just got to stay at it, continue to push through it, and it'll happen. Success and power is not an external thing. It's an internal thing. It's all about your mindset and whether or not this is something you're convinced that you can do, and you believe firmly in your heart of hearts that you can do it. All right. And then you want to accept anything at all that happens that doesn't go right. You want to accept it as a learning opportunity that you can then take it and get you to the next level. All right. So you want to be able to just really, really stay focused on the business and staying focused on your why and staying focused on what it is that you're doing and why you started it in the first place. All right. I mentioned success being internal. It's not about the external recognition, though, but it's about your mindset, internal growth, and your execution fully. Resilience is the other word I used earlier on in my discussion here, and I'm talking about that. It's the skill that you can lean on if you're coachable. And I say if you're coachable because there are business owners out there who have all the answers and therefore cannot be instructed or informed or given any particular instructions on a different way to look at something. If you're flexible, if you're pliable, if you're coachable, I promise you, you will succeed. Failure to dream, failure to implement, failure to take advice, these are all things that can cripple you. Failure to enjoy, which is burnout and lack of structure. Maybe you're controlling and you want to keep everything to yourself and you don't want to delegate. These are all things that can cost your business and cost you your business and cost you to have a miserable entrepreneurial journey. So you don't want to do that. You don't want to constrain your concepts. You want to be risk adverse to some degree, but you also want to take some risks. You want to put your egos aside and not let that drive you, not let that be your governor. And you want to avoid the burnout and the lack of structure. And you do that by having a proper operations process in place. Worker bees versus CEOs, when we look at that, this chart just quickly shows the distinction between it. We always use the term working on your business or working in your business. And it has to be a delicate balance. You've got to balance the two. You can't spend all the time working in the business as a business owner. You're the CEO, but you're also the front desk person and you're also the salesperson. It's difficult and it gets difficult. But as you grow and as you're able to generate enough revenue where you're able to pay a staff, you want to then carve out time where you can do stuff like this, where you're getting some insight on other things that can unlock ideas for you to help your business prosper and succeed. So this is just a quick snapshot of what it looks like to being a worker bee versus a CEO and the mindset that is. You know, the last bullet, I love that. It says the worker bee is stuck in the busy cycle. The CEO makes decisions with a bigger picture in mind. This epitomizes the difference between the two. You guys are all in a situation right now where you're juggling, you're toggling left and between both of them. But at some point, you're going to get to the part where you're going to block out parts of your day and you got your CEO hat on and you're guiding the organization. So taking the next steps really is just committing to your dream, creating your plan for the next 30 days, and connecting with like-minded entrepreneurs. I know I believe I see Ken Lopez on here, the director for the City of Tamarac. Thank you for joining, Ken. The City of Tamarac is doing wonderful things, including the chamber. Get involved. There's plenty of resources allowing you to support you and allow you to stay committed to your dream, committed to your plan, and also being around like-minded individuals that can help you. So this is where we started when I asked the question, where do you see yourself why did you start your business? What impact did you want to create? What's the risk? Would you give up? Or what's that risk if you gave up? You guys have all seen this chart before. I think this epitomizes, and this is perfect for this particular segment here and talking about what's on the surface. And while everyone sees that little duck on the water moving effortlessly along the top of the pond, no one sees the feet under the water that's going crazy, that's fanatically spinning like crazy to make things happen. And that's the world, and that's the life of a business owner, as a CEO, and as someone who wants to succeed as a business owner. So the lesson here, or the message here, is no one's going to know what it takes and what it's taken for you to get to where you're at. Only you know that. And there's a value on that. Never, ever forget that. All right. So you guys know why you started your business, why you created it, and so forth. So that's great. And, the goal here really is just to talk about the hustle, and that it's tough, and it can be challenging. However, in doing it the right way, you can then turn that into this. You can be a fearless individual, like a lion, and where nothing is going to get in the way of your success. Nothing's going to impede your progress, and you're going to go off and do great things. I firmly believe in that. The City of Tamarac believes in that, and all the resource partners in the community that's here to support you guys, we believe in that as well. Tap into us and let us know how we can assist you. As far as the business plan, we'll pivot and talk about this briefly. You guys have all completed a business plan, I'm assuming, and if you have, this discussion is not going into the business plan, although I do want to highlight some key areas for it. Because the purpose of the business plan, as you can see, it's the foundation of your business, the roadmap for the owner to manage the team. It clarifies your concept. It sets objectives for the business owner. It's ideal for attracting investors. You can't apply for a loan or sometimes even a grant without them saying, upload your business plan. We oftentimes have a lot of folks scurrying to get a business plan completed because they're trying to get an application in. It is a necessary tool, have it, but don't just write it and set it to the side. Keep it in front of you, keep it fresh, and keep it fluid, and keep it active. It's going to help you to manage risk, and obviously a communication tool for the business. The essential sections, though, of the business plan, these are critical areas, is the executive summary, which is the first section that a person is going to read about the business plan. And if you don't get their attention in the executive summary, they might not read through or flip through the rest of the document. So that has to be a compelling statement that you give about the business. And then your product and services, your pricing, and your benefit. Your products and services is important. How you list it, how it's showcased. Additionally, if you apply for a loan, for example, a lender might look at the product and services, your price points on your products, to determine whether you are priced out of market. Now they look at your projections and they may say, well, your projections are not realistic. They're not realistic because your product and services are not priced properly for the market. Everything works in lockstep. They have to work together. So if you need help in tightening that up, we can provide the services for you guys on it. But the product and service section is critically important. The industry and market analysis is another key section. And then also the marketing strategy. That's really going to highlight and show an individual that's looking at your business plan, what is your strategy for growth, and how are you tackling the market? Is it digitally fully? Is it networking? Is it print media? Is it digital? Is it social media? What social media platforms, etc.? All of that stuff has to be flushed out within the plan. Now, when we look at the competitive comparison, that's another key section of the business plan. You must know who your competitors are at all times, and you must know what they're doing and what's happening within the industry. If you don't, you're flying blind. You must know that information, all right? You also got to know where they're located. Is there a new competitor coming right down the street from you? Is there a new competitor coming in the same plaza that your business operates in? You've got to do the research and find that information out. That way you're well informed, and through your business plan, you can have a response to some of this stuff so that it doesn't get you in any trouble there. Now, how do you get the product and services to your customer? That's something that you've got to discuss. You've got to talk about that. That's going to be baked into your marketing strategy, but you've got to be able to talk about that stuff. And you also got to know what the weaknesses are, what the voids are. Sometimes you've got a mystery shop or ghost shop with some of the businesses that do the same thing you do. If you run a restaurant, you might want to go and check out another fast food restaurant because you always see a line or you always hear they do good business. So you might want to go and check it out and see what it's all about. Is there something you're missing? Is there something you could take from? Or is it just, okay, I need to get my marketing game up? But you'll find a lot of stuff out when you stay on top of this piece, this aspect of your business plan. Now, when you do the industry and the competitive awareness or analysis segment, it matters. I'm telling you, it absolutely matters because the market is always moving. Things don't stay static very long. What happened during COVID and folks weren't ready, some individuals unfortunately weren't ready for that. Nobody was really, but some definitely weren't, and it put them out of business. You've got to be competitive. You got to be aware of what's happening around you, and you've got to be ready to pivot or evolve with your business, whether it's new pricing, technology, enhancing your customer experience. All of that stuff is going to be critical for you as a business owner. Tracking trends that's going to help you adapt to and react. Knowing your space, which is, creating a stronger position, your messaging and what you're offering. This information is going to absolutely help you uncover gaps in the market, areas or spaces that you can fill. A lot of new individuals that are just starting a business and creating a business plan, one of the things that we love to work with them on is find out as much as you can about the top 3 or 4 individuals or businesses that are like yours. And I want you to identify the gaps. What are the things that they do not do right now? We're not talking about you and what you're doing or not going to do. All I want to know is what are they not offering? What are they not doing? Because you can back your way into some good strategy that way. So it's all about just staying ahead of the competition, staying aware of what's going on in your space. And that's going to inform you in many, many different ways. I touched on the marketing strategy briefly, but you must have one. If you don't have a marketing strategy, it's part of your business plan, but we also have a standalone discussion that we can have with business owners to create that as a separated, isolated document. If you don't have a marketing strategy, I encourage you to get one, or at least I encourage you to consider putting one together for the business. It'll help you in the long run. We'll go to the SWOT analysis. Strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats. That's what the SWOT analysis stands for. And this is an important exercise that I think every business owner should do once you've launched your business. And you'll find that this will evolve over time as well. You want to know what the strengths are within your business internally. What are the things you do really well? What are the things that you're just horrible at, and you need help? Maybe it's staffing. Maybe it's you don't have the bandwidth to take on the technology. Maybe you struggle in that area and you really could use some help in there, but you just got to be open and honest with yourself. What are the things you're weak at? And when you look at the opportunities and threats, these are external factors that could impact your business. So what's happening in community right now that creates an opportunity for me? Is it my competitors moving out of the plaza next door to me? And so I can now take on that person's client. I'm going to have somebody standing out the store outside in the thing, handing out flyers. I don't want them to leave and go to him where his new location is going to be, or her new location. So I'm going to stand out there and hand out flyers to them so they can come and check my establishment out, since it's convenient for them. And then what are the threats? Are you running or do you run a chicken shack? And is there another one opening right down the street from you that's now going to be a competitor of yours? It's going to cut into your revenue. It's going to cut into your bottom line. You must be able to know what is happening with that, to be able to position yourself. And it's all about staying abreast of what's happening in the market, what's happening in the community, what's happening in your industry and in your specific space, right here in Broward, right here in the Tri-County area, because these are the things that can make or break you from a revenue standpoint. The SWOT analysis, the definition, or essentially the use of it, being the strategic planning tool, looking at internal and external factors. I broke that down already, but it's going to really help you to gain insight so that you can make strong, informed decisions about your business. And that's essentially what this tool is. We can assist you with that if you're interested in doing one for your business. I can have a follow-up conversation with Ken about that, but you can reach out to us directly as well. Netflix did a SWOT analysis. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but they did one as well. And I think every company out there that's done or in this space has done some form of an analysis like this, because what they want to figure out is, okay, is if I could take a hockey analogy, is you want to go where the puck is going. You want to anticipate so that you can make those moves. And they had all of their strengths and weaknesses down pat. And but what they saw as a threat was a bearish market. Um, Rising competition. Amazon Prime was coming in. Once upon a time, Amazon was only about books. Then now all of a sudden they started offering movies and other stuff that you can download and, or watch online. Those are things that started to cut into their bottom line as well as others. But Netflix also put Blockbuster Video out of business and a number of other folks. So if you're not willing to pivot and prepare yourself, these are the things that can happen. And the SWOT analysis allows you the opportunity to stay fully awake as far as what's happening around you as a business owner so that you can succeed. So the essentials for this program, I'm sorry, for the SWOT analysis is a clarity on where you stand as a business owner. It's going to help you to make those informed decisions and being proactive while you're solving problems. So you're going to be able to anticipate any threats that might be coming down the pike, um, see any blind spots that could be popping up, and help you to align your team and your valuable resources. Many of you as entrepreneurs, you only have maybe one or two staff members, maybe three, if you're lucky, five. You want to align those resources, and it's very, very important. If you don't, or if you're not doing something like this, you may be overestimating your position in the market. You may be underestimating your risk. Opportunities could pass you by, no question about it. And you certainly will be operating a business on assumptions and not strategy. And we're all about helping you to be more strategic as an entrepreneur, as a business owner. Before we dive into the marketing strategy, I'll pause for a couple of minutes if there's any questions from anyone. All right. Well, let's dive in. Let's keep it moving. So creating your marketing strategy from research to results. The marketing strategy is very, very, very important. This is really going to be this is where the rubber meets the road for your business and how you're driving and how you are moving your business along. Okay. And there are 5 key benefits for having a marketing strategy. The first one couldn't be more clear, which is providing a clear direction, right? It's a roadmap for you and your business, assuring that you're aligned and that you're consistent. So you're going to be measuring as you go along and that you want to be consistent. It's going to help to better align your resources and help you to be more timely, to budget properly, and to manage the human capital, the valuable human capital that you have within your business. It's going to help you to improve your target audience, your target market. It's going to help you to identify who those individuals are so that you can be more effective in your campaign, or to spend less money in the areas that you recognize is not working. Okay, if a particular segment is not your sweet spot, you're not going to pour money into that. You're going to put the money into the market, the individuals, the concepts, or the ideas of where you want to focus on. You're going to have a competitive advantage over your competitors, because I can tell you a lot of small businesses, unfortunately, do not do marketing strategy. They don't have a marketing strategy and they don't put the time into it. But if you put the time into it, you could be like this guy here, springboarding in front of your competition. And it all starts with having what we call your unique selling proposition. All right, USP. So what is the benefit, the unique benefit or value that your business offers that differentiates you from your competitors, from somebody else that's in your space? What is that 1 or 2 unique things that you do different? Now, if you're doing the same thing as everyone else, you're likely going to get the same results, or you might just be stagnant. But I don't think any of you on this call are trying to be stagnant. I think you're all trying to take your business to the next level. And in doing that, having a clear marketing strategy or defined marketing strategy is going to enable you to do that. And then last but most importantly is, and not least, is KPIs. We talked about KPIs, key performance indicators and metrics, and these are all important in every industry, every business, every role, every task. There are KPIs that are developed when there's a task that's created so that you can measure its success. And in the business community, there are 3 forms of KPI. There's the outcome KPI, which is the results of the marketing effort, revenue generation, number of new customers, behavioral KPI, which talks about conversions, click-throughs, engagements, and then you have the input KPIs. Okay, so these are how many leads am I getting? How many individuals are actually coming in my store saying, hey, I saw your ad and I came in because I want to be part of your program, or I want to take advantage of your 30-day free trial or whatever it might be. These are all the things that you can use to measure, but you have to put them down on paper to then say, I'm going to measure this to see and gauge the success of what I'm doing. Now, you measure this stuff. If something's not working, you must pivot. Don't wait, don't keep doing it. That's the definition of insanity. But if something is working, you tweak it. But you also have to have the proper discernment to know that if something's not working, before I stop doing it, let me go back to the nitty gritty. Let me go to the details and make sure I said everything I said I was going to do, I'm doing. Because if you're doing that, then everything else, would fall back into place, and you can certainly make it work. The components of this is you're going to outline the objectives and the goals for your business. You're going to highlight your core strategies and initiatives that you're doing. You're going to highlight your target market and unique selling proposition. All right. You're going to understand how the strategy addresses the needs and preferences of your customer. A lot of folks launch a business and they did not address what are the needs of the client or the customer. What's their preference? What's their buying habits? All of that stuff. You must know that, because if you don't, again, you're flying blind. You want to identify the proper channels that you want to target. You don't have to do everything. Maybe you say social media right now because that's within your price point, but social media and outreach. Maybe you don't have a website yet, but you're building towards that website. In the interim, social media platforms stands in that space. Nobody really does print too much anymore, but in some instances, I could see where it could, depending on the industry you're in, the space you're in. Maybe you're working with an older clientele and the print media still works. You might decide to go that route. You want to be able to create a nice budget, and then you want to know what your KPIs are going to be assessing as far as impact and effectiveness, and that's going to inform how you pivot and to what degree you pivot on that. Okay. So now we talk about the clients when you're doing this marketing strategy and understanding the psychographics. This is what motivates the person to buy. What are their lifestyle habits or values? Many of you, if you're doing your business now, it kind of dictates who your clients are, what their lifestyle habits are, perhaps, and their values. But sometimes you got to find out just to make certain. And especially if you're struggling. But if you have a really good client base and people are coming at you, now is the perfect time to profile those individuals, because now you're going to reverse market to get more clients like those individuals to come to your organization, to your business, to your facility to do business with you. So it's a wonderful tool to do, especially if you've got good foot traffic right now. You can certainly take advantage of it. And then you want to make sure you always stay on top of what the problems and the pain points are that you're trying to solve as a business owner. You didn't launch your business just to do what you decide to do for yourself. You launched your business for the community. I used to DJ, and DJs, we don't play music that we like. We don't play music for ourselves. We've got to read the room, and we got to play music to get the mood, get the crowd going, and keep the crowd going. Our responsibility is making sure that that dance floor is never, ever empty. And so as a business owner, if I can use that analogy, you want to do the same thing. You want to make sure that your storefronts are never, ever empty, that people are coming in on it. And so going through this exercise and understanding this and understanding your customers is going to help you to have a really full packed and great experience as a business owner. You want to identify buying behaviors. So, how do they typically find purchasing and services? This can easily be done by way of some kind of a survey. People hate surveys, I will say that. But if you have a brief 1 or 2 question survey, maybe every time somebody patrons your facility, you have a questionnaire you hand them, or you just say, hey, would you mind answering a couple of questions for me while you're ringing them out or something? And you'll be able to gather intel that is going to be invaluable. It's going to inform you on a lot of things. Maybe the platform you're using, maybe most of the folks that are coming to you are coming to you via Google, and you're not doing anything on Google. You're not even running Google ads. You're not even paying for Google ads. Well, Imagine now if that's what's happening and you started to run Google Ads, what that would do. It would exponentially increase you. But maybe the folks are, hey, I saw you on Instagram. Great. I'm going to continue to do that. But now you can also still leverage a Google platform or even a LinkedIn to see if you can get additional clients. So it's just being strategic about that is what you want to do. All right. Now, you want to make sure that the individuals are they quick buyers? Do they take their time to research? I'm the type of person where I don't like to be sold. I like to buy. I don't want to go in a store and have somebody, just force me to take something, or you walk out and you're like, I probably shouldn't have bought that. I would rather go in there knowing that I did some research, I'm informed, I know what I'm buying, I'm happy. Okay, good. Anything happens after that, it's on me. I made that decision. I wasn't convinced. And then what are the things that influences individuals' decisions about the business? Is it a referral? Is it reviews? Is it sense of urgency? What are those things? If you're able to get a snapshot of this based on your clients, your customers, then you're going to be in a very good position to make sure that you're in tune with what's happening with them. Creating the customer persona, I touched on this briefly. Essentially, if you've got a certain demographic or a certain individual that comes into your store, you want to profile that individual or that person or that group. And now you want to reverse engineer. You want to figure out, okay, how do I tap into that other generation? You may have a business that your ideal client is anywhere from someone from 25 to 35, but you find out that the individuals that are really coming to your shop and buying are those that are between 45 and 55 years of age. So you're playing in a space that you didn't anticipate. What is it about that that's attracting them and not attracting the folks that you initially wanted to target? By doing the persona and by doing some of the other exercises, you're going to be able to easily identify what's missing and be able to make that adjustment. And again, it's back to the whole thing, pivot. You must be able to pivot. So this is just a sample implementation plan. We've got templates that we use in the Entrepreneurship Center. And again, anyone who is interested in having one created or having consultation to create one of these, we can assist you, and I'll share the information after. So a sample of what my implementation plan might look like is the preparation and the initial setup. You're going to develop the detail of your content calendar. You're going to set up your social media profiles, make sure all that stuff is good to go. And then you're going to finalize your partnerships, any promotional stuff that you have, any collaboration that you're doing in line with somebody else. Get all of that stuff lined up first. And then you want to set your milestones, week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, or maybe it's quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4, whatever your preference is, whatever your pace is, you set it up that way. And you stick to it and you go through, but you're measuring along the way. KPIs, remember that. You're measuring along the way so you can assess whether or not it's beneficial, or do I pivot? What do I do? I'll take a pause for a couple of questions if there's any out there. All right. I told you this would be fast paced and high impact. All right. So we'll move into the operations portion of it. And this is the piece that I will tell you everybody ignores. No one does anything with the operations. A lot of business owners don't even have an operations plan in place. But my responsibility through this segment is to talk to you briefly about that and the importance of an operations plan. So, what is that? It's a detailed outline of your business, of your organization that the day-to-day activities, the processes at a high level within your organization. And it's going to really talk about how your product and services are produced, manufactured, and sold to customers. The plan addresses anything from your production, workflow, staff requirements, quality control, technology, etc. It addresses all of that within it. So this is where your operations as a whole comes out of your head, and now it's on paper. All right. And it's going to serve as, here's that word again, that roadmap to ensure that the business operating is in alignment with your strategic goals. Everyone's always going to ask, what's your strategic goal? But if you don't have an operations plan, how can you be strategic? If you don't have a marketing strategy, how could you be strategic? You can't. They don't work without the other. So you must have one in place. The difference between an operations plan and when you're talking about operations and an SOP or standard operating procedure is in front of you right here. So in the operations plan, you look at the scope and the detail. It provides a broad overview, while the the SOP, let me just hide this thing here because it's blocking my view. The SOP here, it talks really about specific step-by-step, the nitty-gritty nuanced step-by-step to do something. The purpose aligns with the business strategy and goal. The SOP, it just standardizes the daily tasks and ensures consistency. So you have the worker bees who are doing one particular task every single day when they come in to the time they clock out. So that's what that's speaking to. While the operations plan is that person doing that one step there melds into the overall plan of the business. I played football. I can use football as an analogy. You know, you have on the defense, you have everyone plays a different role, but the defense as a whole cannot be successful if the defensive linemen aren't doing what they're supposed to do. They're exposing the defensive backs and the linebackers, and vice versa. If the defensive line is very strong, but you have people that can't cover receivers and linebackers they can't tackle, you're going to have a breakdown. So it has to be in lockstep, and everything has to work together. And it's similar to a business and how operations are. All the worker bees and the individuals doing the standardized tasks rolls up into the overall strategy of the business. So you must be able to make sure you're doing that. Okay. Now, why build one? I touched on some of this, but again, target audience clarity. You're going to be able to identify and refine those ideal customers. You're going to really be able to help allocate resources, timely and limited resources that you may have as a new business owner. Brand positioning is going to obviously be at the frontal lobe here, where you're going to be able to establish a unique selling proposition and differentiate yourself as a business owner and as a market leader in your space. You're going to be consistent with your messaging, and that's the key thing there, is being consistent with your messaging and not wavering one way or another unless it dictates it by way of your revenue, by way of challenges, by way of what's happening in the market around you. Those are the little things that will enable you or tell you that you've got to pivot. And then it'll allow you to grow and be scalable. So that roadmap is going to help you to achieve growth plans, growth objectives, and attract new customers and partnerships, and everything is just going to be rosy right there for you guys. Within the plan, there are several different components of it. You've got the executive summary, you've got the business objectives section, you've got the operational strategy. That's really talking about an explanation of your approach and the methods that you'll employ, organizational structure. This is just describing the hierarchy within the organization, key roles. Now, if you've done your business plan already, some of this stuff's already going to be in there because the business plan has the organization section. So you're not reinventing the wheel necessarily, but you're just formatting this a little differently than the business plan. So really, if you've already done a business plan, again, it's a copy paste and putting some of this stuff in these sections and maybe just fleshing it out a little bit more, being a little bit more detailed. Quality control. You want to make sure that you're describing how the business maintains standards, the facility and the equipment. You want to talk about description of your physical location, necessary equipment and technology needs, plans for maintenance and upgrades. These are high level stuff, right? So again, not every startup business has a plan like this in place, but it's important for you to be aware of it because you're heading in this direction, right? I'm believing in that. You guys are all heading in this direction. And so having this is going to be critically important for you. Technology and tools, identifying all the software and stuff that you need to be successful in your business, including the infrastructure, managing your content creation, customer relations, all of that stuff is baked in there. And you want to look at the supply chain. You want to provide that overview of that. Who are your partners? Making sure that they are written into your plan and that you know who they are and that you have a good rapport and so forth with them, right? So, and then what is the process for your inventory management, stock levels, supply chain? What is your process for that? So all of these things you must be able to do, and you must have a plan for it. This is, again, another tool that we can assist business owners with if they're interested in creating one for their business. Staffing and human resources is also important, and customer service and customer support. So these are all key things that you want to be able to do. The financials and the projections, that's going to come when everything else lines up. I see a typo here. Sorry about that. So the projections, and if you've done the marketing strategy, the analysis, the competitive analysis, and all the other stuff, then the budgeting and the financial projections are going to come a little easier for you, and you're going to be able to generate some revenue on the business. And then when you get your sea legs and things become a little bit more repetition, but concise, that's when you really feel the momentum kicking in, and you'll be able to do that. You'll be able to manage your risk a lot better, and this document will help you to outline that. And at the end of the day, what you're really moving towards is being scalable so that you can grow and evolve within your space, within your market. That's the essential intent of that. So within this plan, we talked about having clear operational strategy, the importance of quality control or implementing robust quality assurance, to process to maintain high standards within your business, effective organizational structure, how to define clear roles, responsibilities, and workflows, and streamline scalability plan. And again, this is all macro stuff within the organization. You're not in the weeds with an SOP. We'll talk about that in the next section. But this is all macro stuff. And then the risk management piece, which is identifying any risks at all that can have a contingency plan, and have a contingency plan to ensure business continuity. All right. Now the SOP, I'm sorry, I'll pause. Any questions? All right, we'll keep it rolling. We're doing well. So the standard operating procedure.
Sorry about that.
Sorry, go
JR, I did
Yep,
have
that's
a
okay.
question, or
Yep,
more so a comment. In terms of the operational plan, that's good for also optimizing or streamlining some of your functions or some of your day-to-day tasks. Isn't that right?
absolutely, absolutely. This is all about taking a 30,000 foot view of the organization. You're not necessarily putting you as a business owner in the seat, but you're looking at the organization. Okay, who's our audience? Who are we trying to get at? Okay, how are we going to get at those people? All right, and what are the roles within the organization that's going to allow us to do that? And everyone plays a key role in that. And that's why I use the football analogy, where no one's job is not significant to the organization. Everyone's job. If you've got a janitor in your job, in your organization, that cleans the floors and so forth, you stop and think about how important it is that when your customers walk into your storefront, that the place is clean and smells good. Think about that, right? Every role and responsibility is critically important, and you must have all of that stuff laid out. But yeah, thanks for that comment, and you're absolutely spot on. Have any other questions?
No, I think this is all great information, JR.
Mhm.
You're doing amazing work. If no one has any questions, let's speed on
Uh,
through.
All right, let's keep going. Let's keep going. I'm hoping I'm not, just kind of is drinking from a fire hose a little bit. I will say that a lot of the stuff that I'm going through here, these are all individual components that can be a lengthier conversation, a more in-depth conversation. But what we've identified are the essence of it to unlock that for you guys so you can start to think about these different things. And it's not just, hey, I launched my business in Sunbiz. Let's go out and make money. All this other stuff, when you're thinking like a CEO, all this other stuff is important, and you must think about this stuff. The folks who are successful, I promise you, they all have this stuff in place. So now when we look at the SOP, this is where you get a little granular. So the operating plan is just kind of the macro thing. The SOP, or standard operating procedure, is the one that really identifies the organization. And I put this caption here saying creating a unified understanding for operational efficiency, because that's what it's all about, right? And so within the SOP, you have all these different components, right? And so I'll go through fairly fast, but these are all the different components of an SOP. Look at it this way as I'm going through these slides. When you walk in the morning, what do you do from the time you sit down if you are going through your CRM system to identify clients that you're going to follow up with? What are the steps? That's all an SOP is. That's all it is for each role or responsibility. What are the steps? You want to be able to say, okay, I can have a complete stranger walk in here off the street. I can hand them this section of the SOP, and they can sit down and do the job. That's to the detail, the level of detail that this has to be or should be. And that's what SOPs are. All big organizations have them. I've had to do them for my team and for my staff as well. So it is a critical thing. You guys might not be there yet, but again, this is one of those situations where we're exposing you to this because you will need it at some point in time, particularly for business continuity, and particularly if you have a key role or responsibility within your company, your organization, that happens to be a high turnover responsibility or a high turnover position. If you have a situation like that where you can't keep somebody in the seat, how frustrating is it training somebody? It can you could jump out of a window. It could be very frustrating. But if you have an SOP and you have your initial conversations with that person, you can hand that document to that person and say, if you have any questions, here's the SOP. Follow the steps. You cannot go wrong. If you have questions, you can come and ask me. But at least you know you've given them a fully detailed blow by blow. This is how you do the thing, right? So this African proverb I'd love to share. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And that's really what it's all about when you are trying to create these different areas for your business and having a standard operating procedure. So it's standardized so that nobody can veer left or right. They're just going to stay the course. The labeling of the each of the responsibility, pretty straightforward. This is how you would label it. And by the way, I'll go through this fairly quick. If anyone is interested in creating an SOP, we can assist you with that as well, right? But the labeling piece of it is important for each of the role that you're creating the SOP for. And then you want to talk about the purpose. What is the purpose of that role? So you want to give a brief description of that. You want to state the objective of that role. No one's doing anything just because. They're doing it because we have an intake specialist, for example. If the intake specialist doesn't do their responsibility properly, then my business coaches can't get access to the business owners to then do the coaching for those individuals because they would not have gotten accurate information. So that's a key and clear responsibility of that person. And that's an example. So we all have it, whether we have it written down or not. We all have SOPs maybe locked in up here, but we have SOPs that we operate around or under. And it's important to make sure you have it written down just in case something goes wrong or something happens. All right. So now the scope, it talks about the coverage, specifying the departments, the processes, and the areas, who it excludes, if anything at all. If there's anything not part of that, you want to mention that. Terms and acronyms, you want to define that stuff. If you're going to use acronyms like CSR, customer service rep, then you want to make sure that you spell it out so that there's no ambiguity, there's no confusion, and you want to clarify anything. So anything at all that could be questioned or could need a little explanation, you want to make sure you're doing that. You want to talk about the role and responsibility of the individual. What are their roles? Who are they accountable to? Um, who do they report to? You want to list all that stuff out so that folks know who they're going to. What are the procedures? It's a step-by-step instruction. You want to detail the sequence of order, greet the customers warmly, listen to the customer's inquiry, provide a solution if necessary, and escalate if necessary. I mean, those are the steps. If you train somebody with a template like this, then you can allow that person to let their personality shine and come through because you've already gone through the essence of what they need to do. Everyone's going to get a job done a little differently as long as they're all moving in the same direction and working towards the same thing. That would be a huge part of it. And then you want to include any diagrams and flow charts. Most folks will use just organization org chart to show that, but diagrams and flow charts showing a workflow or a process for doing something is also kind of a cool way to do that. Any materials and equipment, you want to talk about that required to do the job, whether it's a 3-hole punch or whether it's a laminate machine that laminates. I mean, just using those as examples, but you want to be able to make sure you're including that when you break this stuff out so folks know what is what. So you get the gist. This gets really into the weeds of what that looks like, including when you talk about the health and safety of the organization. You want to make sure that all of that stuff is set up properly, that the facility is clean, that it stays clean. You may be looking to hire a cleaning company to come in there, but who is that? What is that person? what is that organization? What's their sequence? What's their frequency, I should say, or how frequent do you need them to come in there? All of that stuff you've got to think about because now you're into the health and safety of your organization. The last thing you want if you have a storefront is to have somebody come in there, slip and fall on your floor because your previous customer spilled a drink and you had nobody to go behind and clean it up really quick. That's a huge problem. So you want to make sure that that's baked in there as well. What happens if the following thing, and how do you deal with that? Because nobody wants lawsuits. Okay. The quality control is just really about the standard. So you're going to specify what that standard is. So example here, all customer inquiries must be resolved within 24 hours. So we've got a 48-hour window to respond to a customer because we get so many of them, but you might have a 24-hour window. You might have within the same day. It all depends on what you do and what your business and the industry or the space that you're in. But you got to have some quality control measures in place. And so for each SOP, you want to make sure that there's a standard in terms of quality control for each of those roles. And then you want to monitor. The monitoring piece is just really describing how adherence to the SOP and the monitoring is going to be measured. So we're back to that KPI thing, right? How is it going to be measured? Is it audits? Is it service logs? What is it? All of these things are up for grabs you want to talk about. And then any references that you want to put in there that an individual, if they have any questions, they can go back to. An example of this would be maybe you have an SOP, and as part of that, there's a reference to a section of the HR manual. Well, the reference would be see HR manual section 5.1 of page 74 or something like that, where individuals can know where to go to get things. It's just kind of writing everything down. If you do it in baby steps and document and write some of this stuff out, building this out comes easy because now you're just doing it for each role and responsibility within your organization. Maybe you only have 1 or 2 roles, but if you have a big enough company, you might have 5 or 6 different roles and responsibilities. And so building that out may take a little bit of time. A lot of organizations, they would have the staff or the team member who's doing the work list out all the different activities you do to accomplish this particular task. And what they don't realize oftentimes is that they're helping you build your SOP. So that's the best way to do it. Tap into the people that are doing the work and have them lay out the step-by-step for you. And you can go in there. And then you just have the appendix section. You wrap it up with the essentials of it. And then you begin to identify the key processes for your business and outline any steps for the infrastructure. I'll pause there for any questions that anyone may have on that. And this is going to wrap up the operations section of our discussion. Any questions? All right. So this is the last section of the discussion. It's the financial document. I feel like this is the most this is also overlooked. All right. So I think every section I've touched on is overlooked, but this one is definitely overlooked. A lot of folks ignore this. A lot of folks don't dive into this as much as they should, and they don't start off their business out the gate the right way with proper documentation, business bank account, separating your personal from your business stuff, having a business checking account, all of that stuff. I mean, so, and it starts there, but then it just spirals out of control from there. So this next section, we're going to dive into the financial documents piece. And this piece, I would love to have you guys chime in. And then again, we're definitely doing really, really well on the time, and absolutely would love to interact with you guys after and take questions that you have. All right, so diving into the financial documents. And you can feel free to drop in the chat there what your challenges are with the financial documents, if any at all. I'll look through some of those at the conclusion, and I can then try to respond to some of them. But financial statements, basically they're the heartbeat of your business. They track your progress, any challenges that you have. It'll stick out like a sore thumb. Most importantly, it's going to help you to make really good decisions, or at least it should help you make good decisions to ensure that your business is stable, growing, and successful. All right. I have my disclaimer here. I move real fast, but I'll say that the information here is generally for education purposes only and should not be considered financial, tax, or legal advice. Okay, we don't do any legal advice. We don't do financial advice. We're not CPAs. We're not accountants. We don't touch anything accounting wise that a business may want, but we can certainly educate you on the different documents and tell you what they are and what their purpose is. But when it comes down to actually doing the numbers, we don't do that. So we would have to refer you to an accountant or advise you to get an accountant. So I'd be remiss if I did not say that. So the purpose of the documents really, if we can dive in here, is to track the financial health of your business. All right, to help you plan for the future and to communicate any financial position that you are presenting or trying to propose to a stakeholder. Okay. The documents here is going to allow you to have a very good understanding of where you stand, how profitable you are you managing your assets properly? I mean, you could be making $100 a week, but if you're spending $130 a week, you're not profitable. It might feel like you are until you look at the numbers or until you do have these documents prepared, and then you realize, oh snap, I'm not making any money. In fact, I'm bleeding. I'm in the red. That's the importance of making sure that you stay on top of this stuff, is that so that does not happen. Now, when you look at the purpose of financial documents, it's going to provide you with a clear insight of your business. It's going to expose you to the current status of your business, any future projections that you may have. Projections are a huge part of the business plan. It's a huge part of or component of conversations that you may have with a lender or a funder, right? They want to know, okay, where do you see the business in the future? How do you see the business growing? And what does that look like? And then you got to back it up with the data. You got to back it up with the numbers. So, when I started, I said, being an entrepreneur is tough. It's being hard. It's hard, and it's not an easy thing, right? All of this stuff we're talking about, it's necessary. And this is absolutely one of the most necessary discussions that you'll have as an entrepreneur, right? We want you to stay on track. We want you to meet your goals. We want you to be successful. But if you're not measuring and managing this part of it, then everything else is kind of crazy, right? So the lenders are looking for, they're looking for how you demonstrate viability and stability of your business. Simply put, are you a prudent manager, operator, CEO of your business? And what are the risks that are involved with you as a business owner if I'm a lender and I'm trying to give you money? And the reason I use lender is because when you're talking about financial documents, it's not just about doing your documents to then file for taxes. At some point in time, every single one of you on this call is going to need to apply for a grant, certainly, but also a small business loan at some point. It might be $15,000, it might be $150,000. But you all, if you're successful and you get to a certain point, you're all going to need it. And these are all the things that you're going to need to have in place so that if that time comes, you can take advantage of it. A sidebar, when the COVID happened and the PPP loan came about, a lot of small businesses were not able to take advantage of it. Why? Because they didn't have financial documents in line. They were caught flat-footed. They had nothing. And then you had individuals make up financial documents and submit it. And guess what they're dealing with now? Audits and having to repay money. Do not take this lightly. Make sure you pay close attention to the various documents and start to make sure that you're having these conversations with your CPA or the person that does your bookkeeping to make sure that these are things that they're starting to prepare or create for you, or at least have the ability to create for you. We'll start off with the balance sheet. And the definition, all of the documents are going to have the same feel, the same flow. So I tried to make it real easy to digest this, because these documents, they can be a little confusing. And I wanted to give it to you in its simplest and purest form as to what they are. So the balance sheet is just a snapshot of the company's assets, liabilities, and equity, that if any at all, within the business. The purpose, it shows the financial positioning of the business, right? And the example that I'm giving here is a bakery with $80,000 in assets, that's cash, equipment, and inventory, and they got $50,000 in liabilities and loans, accounts payable, and so forth. So it's going to and showing $30,000 in owner's equity. So that's in its simplest form how a balance sheet is going to read. Now, there's going to be other numbers on there, and your accountant or bookkeeper is going to do this for you. Or if you use QuickBooks, you should be able to produce your own balance sheet if you're putting the numbers in the proper way, right? That's a great tool for individuals is QuickBooks. And there's another, it's a free app, it's called Ways. And it's not as robust as QuickBooks, but it works. And especially if it's free, it doesn't cost anything. So it's a lower budget version of QuickBooks. And it's a good tool. It's a good tweener until you're able to graduate to that next step. So this is the balance sheet. When you look at the profit and loss statement, this is showing the business revenues, expenses, and net profit over a period of time. The purpose here is to help determine profitability by summarizing the income and costs, revealing whether the business is making a profit or a loss. That's in a simple, that's what a P&L statement is also known as a P&L, but that's what the P&L statement does. So an example, a cafe here with $50,000 in sales and $35,000 in expenses would report a $15,000 profit. You remember the example I said when I said, I'm making $100, but I'm putting out 120, I'm in the red, I think 120 or 110, and you're in the red, same concept. So the P&L statement is going to indicate that for you guys. Now, cost of goods sold, this comes up from time to time. And the cost of goods sold, it's a separate line item within the P&L statement, right? It represents direct cost of products, goods sold by the business, including any materials and or labor. And so the example of this is for a cup of coffee, the cost of good would include the cost of the coffee beans, the milk, and the packaging. So you remember when I talked about, are you pricing your business out of market? These are the things that kind of back into that. So if you understand how you're setting up your price point for your thing, if you understand how much do I need to sell this cup of coffee for to make a profit, right? You're backing into your break-even analysis, really is what you're doing. And you're going to be able to determine that. And so through this document, through the cost of goods sold, you're able to get a visual look just from the number standpoint and looking at that. And that helps you to set your prices more realistically or properly. Cash flow statement. This tracks the flow of cash in and out of the business. Pretty self-explanatory, right? How much cash is available, ensuring that you can cover expenses, payroll, and so forth. It's important to know. If you're bleeding cash and you have 3 staff members and they're looking at you at the end of the week because they're waiting for payroll, or they're waiting for their check, and you unfortunately can't cover the check, it's going to be a problem. You're going to have people walking out on you. No business owner wants to do that, nor do you want that label as a business owner. So it's very important for you to make sure you don't get ahead of yourself and outspend what you're bringing in. It's going to be very, very important as a business owner that you not allow that to happen. So the example I have here is a landscaping business. They may have $10,000 cash inflows from services, but $8,000 in outflows for equipment and wages. So they only have $2,000 net cash flow. What if something else pops up? It's going to eat into that $2,000. So if they're not factoring in all the other things, that $2,000 net cash flow could burn away fairly quick. But if they're in a good spot and that $2,000 is free and clear of everything, cover all expenses and everything, then you're in a good spot, because now you can start to save for a rainy day. You're able to, maybe buy that new equipment that's going to make you more efficient, whatever it might be, but the cash flow is going to be very important. Accounts receivable, you guys may have heard of this quite a bit. And so this is showing money that's owed to the business or the customer. So it's categorized by the length of time outstanding. Sometimes accounts receivable is 30 days, some are 60 days, some are 90 days. If you have a government contract, for example, it's not accounts receivable, but it is something you're waiting on. If you are a subcontractor and you're waiting for your prime contractor to receive money from the government so that they can then pay you, that can create a little bit of a cash crunch. Different, it's not accounts receivable, it's different, but mentally, I'm just wanted to just say that, how who owes you money and how fast you get that money determines how easy you can cover your costs and all the other stuff for your business, or how difficult it might be, which is why it's important to have a few dollars saved away for that rainy day, or to stand in the void or stand in the gap until you can cover your payments and expenses. Accounts payable, or AP. This is the report that lists the outstanding bills and obligations that the business owes. So it tracks the business owners, track what you owe, ensuring timely payment and managing cash flow. This is important. The last thing you want to do as a business owner is you all have inventory invoices that you payments that you've got to make to suppliers, for example, and you can't pay them because you're mismanaging your cash flow. And so you don't have the money to pay them. They may have given you a favorable deal on a couple of pallets of rubber bands, for example. And now you blow that, you're killing that relationship or that preferable pricing that you're getting as a result of this. So guess what? Now, when you need to renew your inventory, you're no longer getting that preferential price. You're going to get a higher price, or maybe they say, you know what? I had a bad experience. I don't know that I can continue to work with you. And a lot of business owners, unfortunately, they deal with this and they have to change suppliers. It works in the reverse. Sometimes you're working with a supplier that is gouging you. They're charging you way too much. You can get the same thing from somebody else a little cheaper. But you have to have discernment to be able to figure that piece out. If you're not paying attention to the numbers and looking what's going on and getting into the weeds with this a little bit, you would never know that. So you would never make that shift. Okay. So paying attention to this is going to be key. The example I have here is a restaurant owes $2,000 to a produce supplier and $1,000 to a beverage distributor. Um, and they're categorized as by the due date. So that's $3,000 you got to put out. If you don't have the money to cover that, you're going to be in trouble. You're going to be in trouble from a relationship standpoint with the individual. But then it's also, if a lender is looking at this, they're looking at you as not being um, honorable with your obligations. And if you're doing that with your accounts payable, then guess what? You could do that with a loan. You could do that with other things as well. So it doesn't show favorable to the organization. So you want to make sure you're not doing that. Financial projections, we ask for this a lot when a business owner submits for a loan. Why? Because we want to see where do you project the business going in the next 2 years? And what's it going to look like month by month or quarter by quarter or year by year over the next 2 years? So it's going to help plan the future growth, help you to secure funding for the business. This is really all about a loan. Like, this is the only time you'll probably need this, but it's also good to know how you're projecting financially, because it'll help you plan for staffing, for other big ideas you have. Maybe you want to open another location. Maybe you want to, excuse me, maybe you're thinking of franchising or something. It's good to know this information. So the example in this case here, a new restaurant projects $500,000 in revenue in the first year, with detailed breakdown of expected monthly sales and expenses. That's your that would be a really sweet financial projection for an organization, for a company within the first year, to be able to do $500,000. And the only thing a lender or a funder is going to want to know now is how do you prove that number? That's where the industry trends come in, the industry analysis, understanding what the competition is doing, understanding what's happening in the space, understanding that you are in an industry or a market that is really, really strong and robust and doing extremely well. And so that you can take advantage of the situation. So you want to be able to take advantage of that, and you want to be able to make certain that you're able to project out and have it showing accurately as possible. Cost analysis, this breaks down the costs associated with running a business. The cost analysis also spills into the inventory. I'm sorry, the break-even analysis, and understanding what it looks like. What is it costing you to run your business? And that's very, very important. You must know. Every single small business owner, if you've launched a business and you've not done a cost analysis, or you've not done a 1-year projection on your business to know, what is it going to cost me to run my business within a year? Shame on you. You have to do that so you can kind of know what to expect. Because maybe your first year is going to cost you $8,000 to run your business, and you've only put $2,000 in it so far and you're tapped out. You have nothing left. You should know that right away, because now you got to figure out, okay, what are my contingency plans to support my business I need an additional $6,000, and where am I getting it from, or how am I going to get that? It's good to know this just as a sound business owner, strong acumen. You want to be able to see and discern this information so you can make informed decisions. Maybe you're thinking of bringing on a new staff. You know, you see this scenario, say, you know what, I can't hire anybody right now because I've looked at my cost analysis, I've looked at my projections, and it's not prudent for me to do that right now. Down the line, I may, but right now it would not work. Okay. So the purpose again, helping you to understand the costs involved with producing a service or a value or running a business and making that forming decision. Um, and the example I have here, if you're a catering business, this lines up with you, right? So detailed cost of ingredients, kitchen rental, staff, transportation, the whole nine. You want to figure out all that stuff. So you want to know what it's costing you. What are you putting out to do this? Because this is all eating into your bottom line. So when you make that $100 and you think, "Ooh, I made $100, I'm going to go spend it," you first want to think about, okay, what are all my costs? What are the things I got to cover before I start spending this money? Okay, you don't want to get yourself in hot water. And then budgeting, speaking of hot water, this is important as well. But a lot of business owners, you have somewhat of a budget, you kind of have a rough idea, but going through the exercise of the cost break-even analysis, the cost analysis, and so forth will help you to budget better for your business, right? So you're going to be able to allocate resources better. You're going to be able to plan for the future better. You're going to be able to control your spending. Um, the example I have here is a small retail store budget might be might be $10,000, right? For inventory purchases, $3,000 for rent and $2,000 for marketing each month. That might be your budget. Now, what happens if you have an inventory of $15,000? That should inform you that, okay, what's happening with my inventory? Am I paying close enough attention to my inventory? Am I buying too much stuff? Or worst, I'm not selling the stuff. It's just sitting here on the shelf and I keep buying more. Why am I doing this? I need to get this stuff out the store first. You go to some of these stores and supermarkets, especially, they're notorious for doing this. Um, you can go to a supermarket and you see buy one, get one. There's a reason stores do buy one, get one. They're doing it because they would rather sell it at a particular price than have that inventory sitting there on the shelf when they have a new batch of inventory that's coming in and they have nowhere to put it. So what they're trying to do is get rid of it. So if you package certain things together, you sweeten the deal. You buy two for one, check the expiration date. It might be a pack of chicken. You buy one, get one, right? You look at the expiration date, and the expiration date is tomorrow. You're like, whoa, this chicken even fresh? But those are the things you got to pay attention to. But on a business owner standpoint, that's part of the reason they do some of these things. So the consumer believes, I'm getting something really good. This is awesome. They do this buy one, get one every now and then. I got to go and check them all the time and see. That's awesome marketing, right? But you got to be a responsible individual to make sure that what it is that you're getting is the right thing. But budgeting, making sure you're staying on track, making sure your inventory is in line, making sure you're not overstocked on certain things, but also making sure you're not running out of certain things. But knowing what it's costing for each of these things is going to really, really, really important for you as a business owner. I mentioned break-even analysis earlier. It's going to really help you to understand how much you need to sell to cover the cost and begin making a profit. That's ultimately what you want to do. So you want to, I used the coffee bean example earlier. You know, what's the cost of the coffee? What's the cost for the cup? What's the cost for the cover for the cup? What's the cost for the stir? What's the cost for the sugar? What's the cost for the cream? All of that stuff, you want to look at it. Okay, how many people can I serve out of this thing of creamer? How many people on average can I get on this? And you back your way into all of these numbers. AI is a wonderful tool that's available nowadays, and AI made it so easy for folks to do a break-even analysis on certain things. All you got to do is have the measurement, what you paid for it, and what you're selling it for. And it can quickly come up with a lot of this stuff for you. It's pretty scary, but it can come up with a lot of this information for you, right? The example I have here on this is local bakery. They're selling, I'm sorry, they need to sell 1,000 loaves of bread per month to break even on rent, ingredients, and salary. Knowing that is very, very important because guess what? That's going to drive behavior. That's going to drive or inform you in terms of what you're going to do. Maybe you ramp up your marketing, your promotional stuff to get people to sell the stuff. Maybe you have a table out on the plaza to attract people into your store to try your things, whatever you got to do. But you figure, okay, month is coming to an end and I got to sell the following things. So I'm going to get desperate. We all are familiar with car dealerships and we're all familiar with how they operate. And we all know that towards the end of the month, that's when they need to sell cars. They need to meet quota. Every single one of those reps need to meet quota. And that's the best time to walk into a car dealership to try and buy a car. Because you know they're all in a selling mood. They want to sell the car. They're going to be less hard in terms of their negotiating and more interested in just trying to get the car off the lot so they can check that box. So that's the mental aspect of it. And so you want to make sure you stay in line with that and understand it. But break even is important and understanding how what it's going to cost you for whatever it is that you're selling is important because it helps you to set your price point. And then the income analysis really allows you to take a deeper look into the revenue stream, analyzing where the business income is generating from. And you know, if you look at the example I have here, a tech company could use income analysis to identify that 70% of its revenue comes from software sales, while 30% comes from consulting services. It's perfectly fine to do an income analysis because you can shift resources in a particular area that is doing very well. Conversely, you can move resources into an area that's struggling for no apparent reason other than just resources, right? So it works in either way, but you can kind of do this stuff to figure out where you need to go. Everything informs something else with regards to your business and the operations of your business. So the income analysis is another one of those key tools that you want to do. And let's not forget the dreaded business tax returns or just tax returns in general. We all have to do it. There's no way around it. But from a lender's perspective, it shows the financial performance of the business because we typically, and I say we're a CDFI, so we do small business lending. Because we ask for tax returns, we would often, and because it's filed with the government, the assumption is that it's accurate. The assumption is that it is as good as it's going to be, and typically there's nothing wrong with it. If there's something wrong, the IRS will audit you and make the corrections. But we're more apt to hang our hat on that than a spreadsheet, an Excel spreadsheet that you may send in that says this is how much revenue I made. Well, what's your proof? But because you filed it with the government, we tend to put a lot more stock in that. So the tax return is going to show total sales, deductions, net income, reflecting the overall performance of the business, the strength of the business. This is a vital document. If you're not filing your business taxes, you have to. If you've gone through a full calendar year, there's no excuse for not filing your business tax returns. And it doesn't matter if you didn't make a profit. It doesn't matter. File it. And the other tip I will share with everyone on this call is, because we see this a lot, a business owner will try, everyone tries to pay less, as little on taxes as possible. And so you may underreport on your payroll, for example. Don't do that because it's going to show. It's going to show when you look at your payroll taxes. Your payroll taxes may show you paid, $5,000 in payroll taxes. And so the question might be, wait a minute, but you said you had 15 employees. If you got 15 employees, why is your payroll tax only 5,000? Your payroll tax should be 8,000 or something like that. It sticks out like a sore thumb. My advice is don't do it, because if you ever apply for a loan, those are the things that a lender, especially the underwriter, is going to see, it's going to stick out, and they're going to question it. And then you're going to have to respond to it. And if it's not a good response, which generally it's not going to be, you're going to have some challenges. So make sure that you're filing your business tax returns, and most importantly, that the information on it is accurate. Okay. So in a conclusion of the financial section, right, they are the cornerstone of your business success. No question about it. From the business owner's perspective, it's going to allow you to make better decisions, effectively manage your cash flow, help with strategic planning, because you're going to know where the money's at and where the money's not, whether you're overspending, whether you're underspending. And it's going to offer insight on profitability, cost controls, future growth opportunities, whether or not you expand, whether or not you franchise, whether or not you move into this new bigger space with obviously more rent or more lease, but bigger space. It's going to inform you on all of that stuff. From a lender's perspective, for them, it's looking at building credibility. Is your information accurate? Is it transparent? Are you demonstrating financial stability? All of this stuff is going to be vitally important as a business owner, so that a lender can have comfort in you, because there's 5 C's to credit, and the first one is character. And if your information is accurate, done right, and you've not cut corners, then that's going to be vitally important. I didn't do brain teasers in the other section, but we have time, and I want to go through some brain teasers. I'd love for you guys to come off mute and just respond to some of these questions that I'm going to ask, just to see what you've retained or what you already know about financial documents. We're all learning from each other. Iron sharpens iron, and it doesn't matter what your response is. Just want to know, just want to have an interactive discussion with you. So, can somebody hop off mute and just tell me, what financial documents do you review the most often and why? Anybody?
I would say, sorry, this is Kenneth. I would
Hey,
say
Kenneth.
the the balance sheet, so that way that you can see a full picture of what's going on in the business, seeing the expenses, the income, and what's coming in, what's going out. I think that gives you a full picture of what's going on, and it's oftentimes one of the one of the best indicators for, you know, to see kind of the financial strength of the
Hmm.
business.
Right, right. Exactly. Okay. Well, let's see what the answer is. Did you have another one?
Maybe the income statement.
Okay. And one more.
Um, I would say maybe the profit and loss statement as well.
Whoa, you were
Oh, okay.
close. You
Two
were
out of two out of
close.
three.
You were close. You were close. Very good, though. Very good. So, yeah, income statement is going to track profitability. The cash flow statement, I mean, that's a very, very important document, is your cash flow. Like, you want to know what's happening with your money, with your cash. And then the balance sheet, which is going to show assets versus liability. So, but you were close. Very good. Very good.
Nice.
Um, all right, here's another question. Somebody, how can you create a budget? I'm sorry. How can creating a budget help improve your business operation? Shara, do you want to take a response, try to answer that?
Hey, yeah, this is Fred, actually, Cyrus' husband.
Okay,
No,
Fred, go for it.
y- yeah, I definitely the business, creating a budget, you
Hmm.
know, is like the road, not necessarily the roadmap for your business, but it's like the blood of your business, right? If you stick to your budget, you know how the track of the business, and you know, kind of like where the trajectory and what you're able to do and fit in within that budget. Oh,
Okay,
definitely a
okay,
crucial part.
all right. Does anyone else want to add anything to that? Dave? Let's pop to the answer. All right. So you touched on some of this: better financial control, improved cash flow management, a more informed decision making. All of this stuff really centers really around making informed decisions, right? Increased profitability. You didn't say this one, stress reduction, Fred. Um, if you're on top of all the other stuff and if you're doing that right, you can breathe a little easier. You're not as stressed, or at least you can forecast. You can see things coming and you can anticipate and be prepared for that. Good though. Nice. Here's another one. How can reviewing cash flow statement help identify a problem? Marjorie, do you want to take a stab at that? How can reviewing a cash flow statement help identify a problem?
I can try to help her out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I think with the cash flow statement, you can really see where your cash is going. So if you're spending too much on, let's say, inventory or a product, maybe you can look for alternatives. It
Trying to
could
unmute
also.
myself. Sorry. Go
Oh, okay,
That's okay.
excellent,
ahead. Go
Go
excellent.
ahead.
ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Marjorie. No, I want to hear from, go ahead, Ken. You finish up and then I want to hear from
Go ahead, Ken.
No, no, I'm done, Marjorie. You take it away.
Marjorie.
Oh, well, basically, within your cash flow statement, you can tell whether if you're under or over, and
Mhm.
basically it help balance it out to see identify like what's going on, whether if you are in the loss or
Mhm.
in the gain, if there is
Okay.
profit going on, if there is loss,
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
kind of a balance.
Okay. So is a whole slew of things, right? So it's going to indicate whether you're negative in cash flow. You said that, right? It's going to show if there's a delay in receivables. So if your cash flow is off, but you're like, well, wait a minute, I have the following, I'm still waiting on payment for some of these invoices. What's going on? It's going to inform you on that. Now you're going to go back to that person to say, remember the SOPs, right? You're going to go back to that person and say, hey, what's happening with the following things? Because I notice our cash flow is off a little bit. Have they not come in, or what's happening with that? Maybe that person hadn't done a step or two. Maybe they didn't follow up on something. You just never know. So one thing is going to inform something else, but good job. Okay. Um, it's gonna, my eyes itchy here. It's gonna highlight areas where costs may need to be reduced, right? This is that whole discussion when I talked about being priced out of your market. You're charging a little too much, right? It's gonna identify if the business is depending too much on loans. Or your revenue is minimal because everything that you're earning is going back into repayment of this and repayment of that. So you can't even breathe. And at some point in time, if God forbid something major happens and you need an influx of money to repair something, maybe you got a leaky roof or something, now you're stuck. And if you're overextended on loans, small business loans, it's going to be hard for you to get another one. So being judicious with your finances and so forth is critical. Helps predict and prepare for cash fluctuations, right? So it's helping you to stay ahead and be ready in the event that something happens. And then it's going to show if sales are strong but payments are delayed. So that's one of the things that it's going to show. Absolutely. Good job. Here's another one. How can you address issues of having strong sales yet struggling to pay suppliers on time? Nalanda, you want to take this one? Or what? I think you had issues with your mic before. I think you didn't have a mic earlier on. I think you did mention that. But anyone wants to respond to that? How can you address issues of having strong sales yet struggling to pay suppliers on time?
You might not understand your costs, and like for me, I'm in the restaurant industry, so if you have strong sales but you're not able to pay, you might not have a good grasp on your costs, and you know, yeah.
Bingo. Yeah, right on the button. Right on the button. That's part of it. But yeah, improving your cash flow timing, optimizing inventory and expenses, reducing your excess inventory and slow moving items, and delay any non-essential items. So in other words, stop spending on certain things that's essential, and um, the stuff that's slow moving, identify that and deal with it or address it. And then you want to monitor and forecast for future cash flow. But you have to pay attention to that to take action. Again, you're quarterbacking for your business. You're managing the business, and all of these things are your responsibility. It's not your bookkeeper's responsibility. It's your responsibility. Although I will say, if you have a good bookkeeper, they will point some of this stuff out. They should point some of this stuff out. And then from that, you could then go in the direction you want to go in terms of making adjustments. But again, you've got to be on top of the numbers. I think I have one more. All right. So how can proper tracking of accounts receivable help move business cash flow?
I think because you know when things are coming in. If you know when
Right,
it's the next time you're gonna get paid, you can kind of
right,
pivot and maneuver a little better.
right.
Yeah, especially if things are tight, like the window is tight. Maybe you
Mm-hmm.
need this payment to pay this so that you can make that big sale or transaction.
Exactly. If you're in a restaurant business, this is your world. This is your space right here, right? You're tracking all this stuff. Speeds up collectively the increase of cash flow, helps to reduce bad debt, which could happen indirectly because you can have issues there. And then it's going to improve the overall financial planning and stability of the business. So you want to be able to do that. I will just, for the whole financial statements piece or segment, it was important to go through all those documents. It was necessary, right? Because it's the heartbeat of your business and you've got to review them regularly. It's going to help you to make informed decisions. Any hiccups that happens along the way, any challenges, you're going to see it. You may put all your trust in your bookkeeper or your accountant to do this stuff for you. I challenge you to say no enough to be dangerous. Ask questions, look at it, look at the bottom line, look at it and say, well, what does this mean? Because you're going to be able to understand. If they put it in layman's terms, you're going to be able to understand. You'll be able to push back and say, but wait a minute, how come such and such if this? Then they may say, well, because your inventory is, you're spending a lot on your inventory. Oh, really? Well, what did I spend last quarter? What did I spend the quarter before? Now you start to do an analysis and you start to notice that you're spending more on your inventory, but you're not selling more. So now maybe you say, okay, we're going to pause inventory right now. We've got plenty. We don't need to buy anything more. And we're going to address the fact that we got to get some of this stuff out the stores or off the shelves and so forth. It just absolutely helps you to make an informed decision. The financial piece is so critical. That's why I spent so much time on this piece of it. And I would just say that it's incredibly important for all of you guys to play a role in that and make sure you're engaged with that. I stopped sharing my screen because that concludes the formal slides. And at this point, I can open it up and take any questions anyone has, and then we can talk about next steps.
Sure thing. I got a question.
Sure.
When should you consider paying yourself? As a startup, and just getting your business started. Should you even consider paying yourself? In the first year or two.
It's within the first 12 months, it's not advisable. You're still bootstrapping yourself. You've tapped into your savings and other stuff, and you're still really trying to get the business going. And because of the high percentage of businesses that struggle within the first 12 months, it's important not to stress your cash flow and make sure that that money's going back into the operation of the actual business. That's also why you see a lot of entrepreneurs who start a business, they still have a kind of a day job. That's where this whole side hustle came from, because they still had their regular job as they try to get by with this or try to build this up. But you can work on this and build it up in the interim. And if you're not paying yourself, that money can go right back into the business. Now, there's individuals who say, I only pay myself a couple of $1,000s a quarter, and it's fine. It's if I have a regular job and I pay myself a little bit and I'm putting the rest back into the business. But within the first year, I would say don't look at, okay, I'm going to launch a business, I'm going to pay myself $60,000. If your revenue is really strong and you can, absolutely. If you're generating $500,000, $200,000 and up, and you can swing paying that because you're overhead and you've already assessed all of that, then absolutely pay yourself. But ideally, you want to just save and put some of that stuff up, and just because you're still building out the business, there's still things that hasn't shown up yet that will show up, and you want to be able to respond to that. Good
Gotcha.
question.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
great question.
Hey,
Anybody
I've
else
got a
have?
question.
Sure, go ahead. Yeah.
So is like a bootstrap funds, like funds that you use to start up the business, is that kind of considered like a loan from yourself to the business, and you get to repay that, or how does that work?
No. Bootstrap is a terminology that's used
Yeah,
when you use your own money.
yeah,
So you had your own savings and you
yeah,
took that out and you put that into the business.
yeah,
That's your money. Like, that's not a loan. You
yeah.
don't repay that. That's your money.
No, I
Maybe.
understand that.
Oh, okay.
I understand. The question was, is that like in terms of the business, can the business end up paying you back that money?
Oh,
Paying you like, can
so,
you pay yourself back that
oh,
money out of the profits without having
s-
to,
sorry, I
like
misunderstood
you're
the
not
question.
pulling that out
Yeah,
as
yeah, yeah.
profits?
No, you can't really pay that back to yourself. If you're giving yourself a salary, as an owner, then the salary, obviously that's treated differently, and you write that off as a salary and you get your tax breaks that way. But you can't write it off as a business expense that you're paying, that you put the following into the business, unless it's for specific, you're buying something for the business. Let's say you bought equipment and you get to write that equipment off. That's how that would work. But salary, you don't necessarily write off the salary for yourself specifically within the business.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. I mean, you're gonna get breaks, but you're not writing, all that off. You made $100,000. You paid yourself $80,000, so you get to write off 80. It doesn't work like that. You're gonna pay taxes on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's say my business needs a $40,000 loan to purchase some type of equipment, and but me personally, I can get a loan through the business, or me personally, I can take 40,000 of my personal cash that I get from my 9 to 5 and fund it that way. So I wouldn't be able to take that $40,000 and consider it like a note to repay Fred Polanese.
No, because it's not gonna be, line by line. So if you purchase equipment for the business or repair or replace equipment within the business, you get the write-off on that equipment purchase, however that's gonna look. Now, remember, I did say I'm not a tax person and I don't,
Yeah, no,
so
of course.
I don't know how that's gonna impact your overall. I know it's a line item that you would list as a business, as an expense to the business, and then you get your credit, however that's going to be. But it's not going to be, hey, I put 40 in, I get 40 back. I don't know that it works that. I don't know that it's that clean of a process or a step.
Can I
Okay.
mention something?
Sure.
I think you can give a loan to the business from your own or what you have, but as long as you have, something in writing to give to your CPA saying that, because somehow they have to know where the money comes from. It's not a
Mhm.
money that you found on the street, so therefore I think you have the right to get that money back.
Right.
So
Right.
it could be a loan to the business from yourself.
Now, are you saying that from experience or from
Yes,
know-how?
from
Okay.
experience.
So, okay. All right. So you have somebody on the call who's gone through that and who has done it.
Yes.
But I noticed you used the word, I think.
No, I've done that. And basically, if it's your own business, and let's say if you're buying an equipment, you don't have, instead of getting a loan out there
Mhm.
for purchasing it, if you have the funds, you can use that fund. But of course, as long as you have it somewhere documented that this fund came from you, and when you're depositing that money to the business account, that you have all your stuff there for ARS, they know where that money comes from, so you can
Mhm.
get your money back.
So they give you so you get a tax credit. You get some kind of a
You
credit.
get a tax credit and you get the money
Right.
back on the way, but you may not have the whole thing at a time, but according to how the business, they give it to you in several,
Okay.
increment
Okay.
until you're able to pull that money back.
Yeah, I knew you get a tax credit. I didn't want to get in a rabbit hole and talk about that. But I
Right.
knew there was
Yeah.
some tax credit.
Yeah.
But how it breaks out, I
Yeah.
don't know.
You get back.
Yeah. Okay.
Otherwise it wouldn't be fair.
Thanks. Yeah. See, iron sharpens iron. That's how this works. Thanks, Marjorie. I appreciate that. We got time for, let's see, another question or a couple.
I got one. So as small businesses, one of the biggest things that, I hear a lot of businesses struggling with is that, it's hard to get customers. So I wanted, JR, if you could talk about customer acquisition and how to figure out what the cost of customer acquisition is. And like, how do I find out how much I need to invest in order to get a customer? Is there some sort of uh, method to the madness there?
Mhm. So customer acquisition is tricky. Some of the stuff I talked about earlier in the discussion informs or feeds into that. The profile and understanding who the client is, understanding their buying habits, and all of that stuff has to be done for you to then know, okay, this is the pool I want to play in. And then you've got to create a strategy to go after that. And it's got to be a robust strategy that includes a digital a digital ground game, if you will, as far as how you're going to go after a particular market or industry or a group of people in a particular space or area. And in doing that, you can be strategic. You know, you can shift your entire demographics of who shops or buys from you, or you can further distance yourself from the competition. So it can be done in a number of ways, but the customer acquisition piece in itself, oftentimes it does include or involve spending a little bit more money, because sometimes you're buying leads. It unlocks a whole bunch of other stuff that you often end up having to do. It involves also collaboration. It's going to involve being in the right pool, the right network of organizations that can, you know, not necessarily compete with you, but that there's going to be reciprocity. You're going to get something out of it. You look at how the chambers operate, for example, and you're talking about customer acquisition. And each time I've gone to those meetings, there's usually one person in there that, hey, that person over there might be a good person for you to connect with and meet with. And through those conversations, it's the small ground game, but it does add up and it does build. At a macro level, if you're trying to really just get a swarm of people in, now you're talking about leads, you're talking about lists, you're talking about digital campaign, and those add up. Those can cost a little bit. I've not done any customer acquisition discussions with a business owner to any great degree, other than just really focused on what happens with the marketing strategy, the operations plan, and then the digital and the web and how you're going to go after it that way.
Yeah, and the
Yeah.
network, like you mentioned, is very important in terms of getting to that right pool.
Hmm.
And I think that, with all the different types of businesses there are, you have to get creative in how you attract your customers and how you reach them. So I think that's very important what you said about um, tackling the digital as well as like the in person, and try to combine the methods
Hmm.
to get your services or your products to the right people.
Right, right. There's quite a few business owners out there who are still somewhat technophobic, afraid of technology. Maybe they're just scratching the surface on, you know, the Instagram, the TikTok. They don't even have an account. Um, that stuff is low-hanging fruit in terms of pushing your stuff out there and just, you know, and if you have to have a content creator, if you got a young teenager, they can help you put that stuff together real fast. I'm telling you, it's amazing, right? Um, Tap into that stuff. All of that stuff will help boost and help customer acquisition. Um, we had a restaurant that we funded not that long ago down in Wynwood, and this gentleman was paying $42,000, something like that, some crazy number annually to a company, to a person to do their marketing for them. And we're like scratching it, like, why are you paying this money, all this money out? You have, I think the guy had over 80,000 followers on his Instagram. Most of the people that comes into his restaurant are following him on Instagram. Why are you paying all this money out for what?
Wow.
You have a pool right here. Tap into that pool. Come up with a strategy to push stuff out, to push out more content through your platform. And you know what? He did it. He did it. He cut his thing. Now he still uses like you know, the Uber Eats, and um there's another platform that he uses, Grubhub, to get his food out. But the other stuff he stopped paying them for the marketing piece. Why am I paying you? I could do it myself. And we were so happy that he took that advice, and that had an immediate impact on his bottom line. Immediate, when you look at the projections, because it was already money he spent, but when you look going forward, he had this extra $42,000 in his line item that he was spending towards marketing. Well, that $42,000 was now $15,000. Huge difference. Huge difference. So it's just about being aware and being willing to pivot and tap into the stuff. So establish yourself and leverage it and use that. I'm telling you, that was one of a tremendous success stories that we had for a business owner. We, by the way, he did get the loan with us, by the way, but that was a huge, huge success story.
Incredible.
Yeah. So we've got, looks like 3 minutes remaining on the call. Definitely have time for a few more comments, or I don't know if Ken, you wanted to wrap the conversation up with any comments?
Yeah, I just wanted to remind everyone that there is a worksheet that the Urban League JR he has graciously provided and created for us. So if you could please complete that, especially if you're planning to apply for the small business micro grant and maybe you don't meet the criteria of an established business yet because you've been in business for less than a year. One of the requirements is that you have to submit proof that you've attended a small business boot camp or submit a business plan. So this workshop will actually qualify as that small business boot camp slash entrepreneurship program as long as you attach that completed worksheet to your application. So I encourage you guys to check that out. And please keep in mind that this workshop will only count as proof that you've completed this workshop for the next 30 to 40 days. We anticipate within that time frame that there will be more cohorts of small business boot camps and entrepreneurship programs that will launch, and those will be in person or in person slash virtual, and those will be other opportunities in the future to apply for them. But for the next 30 to 40 days, those who attend or watch this workshop can utilize this as proof that they've attended a small business boot camp or entrepreneurship program, and it will serve as that requirement.
Perfect. Thanks a lot. I did put the worksheet again, so it's on the top of the list for you guys. Grab that and certainly use that to fill it out. It's a fillable PDF document. And then I also, if anyone wants to have any further conversations specifically around any of the key areas that we talked about, um, consultation, maybe there's somebody on the call that has not done a business plan. Maybe you don't have one. And if you haven't, we can help you. We can work with you on that. Maybe you want to create a marketing strategy, an operations plan, an SOP. We can help you. We do all kinds of business coaching and services. We're aligned with the City of Tamarac. We're a member of the chamber, so we're very visible, and we're excited to work with you guys and support you in any way we can. Thank
And
you.
and JR, you guys have a loan readiness program, right?
Yeah, the loan readiness component or program essentially is just us talking with the business owner. It's really just getting a baseline assessment for the business, where they're at, length of business, what financial documents. It's heavily on the financial side, but what financial documents do you have? And then also looking at, are you generating revenue? Because there's one thing, generating revenue, that's great, but are you profitable? Because the profitability, that gap is what informs a lender as to what you can qualify for. And we can do the loan readiness piece. You don't need to get a loan, but we can do that and say, okay, based on where you stand right now as you're within your business, if the need arises, you can apply for with us $40,000 loan or $50,000. We still would have to look at your bank statements. I'm sorry, we still would have to look at your tax returns. We still have to look at your credit. We don't pull credit. We don't look at your credit during the assessment stage. We're just informing you of where things stand. We do allow or ask you to download your Credit Karma and send it in to us, and we look at that. But yeah, the readiness assessment is totally free, and that's what we do. We're certainly here to help the community. We want to help you get loans, and we want to help you stay away from those expensive loans that can really put a squeeze on your cash flow. And I put our contact info in the chat, our smallbiz@ulbcfl.org, or our, did I put that right? And the phone number is wrong. It should say 954.
Where do I get it at? I don't see it.
It's in the chat, 625
Hmm,
26
let me see.
62605. Yeah, if you
I
click on
see
the
it. Mhm.
okay, yeah, I put the wrong, sorry about that. It's 954, not 957. So thank you guys so much for the call. It was awesome. It was drinking from a fire hose, a lot of moving parts and fast moving, but I hope you found it valuable. And again, this is all base stuff that you as business owners are going to need, particularly as you grow in your entrepreneurial journey. And my name is J.R. McFarling, and I'm the Small Business Development Officer at the Urban League of Broward County. And I run the Entrepreneurship Center. And if we can help you along the way, we're all That's what we're all about. So thank you so much. And thanks, Ken, for allowing us to have this session with you and with your businesses.
Thank you, JR, and also
Thank
thanks
you.
to the chamber as well, the Tamarac North Lauderdale
Oh yeah,
Chamber, for helping to
definitely.
collaborate with us. But most importantly, thank you, JR, for putting on an
Yes.
amazing presentation for us.
Yeah.
And we're excited. We're definitely going to do a lot more with the Urban League, and provide this information and these services to
Mhm.
you all
Okay.
in the future. So there's a lot of cool stuff coming. We've been in talks with the Urban League, so
Mhm.
hopefully we can bring some good stuff for you very
Absolutely.
soon.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. Be well. I wish you all the best in your entrepreneurial journey, and let us know how we can assist you and how we can help you. Okay. Thank you guys so much, and
Thank
have a
you.
good night.
Thank
All
you.
righty.
Thanks.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
guys.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. All right.
Have a
Bye.